Welcome to the Nova Wealth Show. I am your host, Amy Novakovich.
And I'm Jim Novakovich. We're a husband and wife team and co-founders of Nova Wealth Management.
We also teach you how to build wealth, advise you how to keep it, and how not to get taken advantage of. So let's get started. Hey everyone, happy Friday. Can you believe it's Friday and we have a short week next week, if you can believe that. We are so excited to be here. I'm Amy Novakovich. I'm your host. This is Finance Friday. This is where we transform your relationship with your money and transform your life. Catch me on Twitter at Novakovich Amy. And also, I am definitely posting this to our podcast, The Nova Wealth Show. So get it on iTunes or our website, novawealthmanagement.com. But speaking of transforming your life, I have a guest today that there is no one else like her. I guaranteed you haven't seen a show like this today. Former attorney of Fortune 100 and 200 companies. Carolyn, actually, on behalf of your business and your dreams, she talks about happiness too, which this is so important because so many of us know what it feels like to work every day. We don't do what our passion is. We just work to make money. We work to make money, and it can all be brought together, and Carolyn is going to teach us how. She is the founder of the Boom Tank, where business success and happiness meet, from business life to reinventions. She creates personal power brands. She designs for C-suite executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals. Carolyn Cole, thank you so much for being here today. I am so super excited about this interview.
I'm so super excited. It's a complete honor to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. We are going to get into not only what Carolyn does today. She has actually a podcast herself, the Business Boom Tank podcast, which I love. And then she also has two other live shows, right? You're doing one for the summer?
I'm doing two for the summer. Actually, it winds up being 3 live shows for the summer in addition to the Boom Tank Business Show podcast. So what I did is I have one show that's running the entire summer that's a live stream in addition to the podcast. Right. That's Winning in Business Live on Tuesdays, high noon Eastern Standard Time. And then on Thursdays for 8 weeks, and I say for summer, but I actually started at May 4th, I ran for 8 weeks, Is It Me or My Business, which was a question and answer format live show about business. That just wrapped, and then this Thursday, I replaced with it the 3rd show live stream for the summer for the remaining 8 weeks. Yeah, so it's cool. It's going to be a very cool show. They're all fun, but I always wanted to do 3. I had the idea for shows, and I'm like, 2 at a time's plenty, and then we do one for 8 weeks, and then bring the other one in for 8 weeks and see how it all goes. So really fun.
Oh my gosh! See, I can really handle one. Are you kidding me? This one and the podcast
this is great.
Handling it all. But see, these are the tools that people need to know. You and I were just chatting about some of the tools that are available to people to boost their business. So that's one of the first questions I want to ask you, because there's a lot of business owners that watch this, or aspiring business owners, right? They're just trying to get moving and finances are in the way, or just general life is in the way. Maybe they don't know that transition time to get away from their job. Because when do I leave my job to focus only on my business? There's a lot of people in that transition. What are some of the tools that you give our our listeners out there that can, take away from this?
Yeah, great question, Amy. The biggest tool I'm going to give, it's going to be words. And my words are this. Number 1, when you're in business, visibility is the lifeblood of your business.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
You have to get seen and get heard. You can have the best of everything, the best products, the best equipment, the best team, the best services, the best prices, the best offers, whatever it is. But if people do not know you exist, you do not have a business, you will not have a business. That's number 1.
That's an awesome point, because I just saw a speaker on the Florida Speakers Association, and he said it's not the best writers list, it's the best sellers list.
There you go. Same principle. Right? Exactly. It's all visibility. And unfortunately, a lot of people struggle when they don't have to. And then let's say you have issues around visibility. Not everybody's confident in front of a camera or on a microphone or getting out and shaking hands.
Right.
Get help for that. There's so much great help for that. You can look at it like that. So if you have that, you say, well, I could never. Yeah, you can. And if you need the help, go get it. It's readily available. I help my people. You help your people. You can conquer it. Trust me, you can.
Well, and one of the tips I just gave a business owner that I was talking to that's interesting that you say that is go get it. Because one of the big holdbacks that people have is, well, I can't afford it, right? Like I want a coach like Carolyn, I want to call Carolyn, but I can't afford her. So one of the business coaches that a client of mine
I told her, I said, if people can't pay you right away, what do you think? I'm really curious about what do you think about this? Taking a percentage. So instead of paying up front, I told her, I said, can you arrange a way of taking a percentage of services in some way, shape, or form instead of having to owe all this money up front or be on a retainer? What do you tell people that struggle financially on how to pay people like you?
The number one thing is always talk to the person that you want to hire. Right? Do not buy off of a sales page. Ask for a discussion. And if they won't give you one, keep going. All right? I talk with all of the people who buy from me, even on my programs that are workshops. And last year,
personalized.
Well, it is, and I'm also going to the one-to-many model, but I'm still open to conversations. So if you come to me, right, and talk, there are other solutions. You'd be surprised at how the really good coaches can find solutions. Maybe it's not you. Maybe they say, you know what, you think you need me, but you need 3 steps before you get to me. Why don't you go here first, ramp up, and then come back, or come with me on this other program? See, I don't always advertise every program I have. Sometimes I engage in just personal invitations on smaller boutique things that I'm trying when I want to grow in a certain way. But if you can't afford it, you really should never overcommit, okay? Because there is no program on earth that I'm aware of that will give you immediate return on your investment upon completion. Great momentum, yes. Great learning, yes. Great things to do for the next 90 days, yes.
Lifetime lessons, lifetime, rewiring their thinking. I've seen that.
Or even
from your shows. I've heard that.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that I specialize in doing things incredibly fast, and I won't take anyone that I know I can't help immediately, because I'm not the long play. I am not the long player, okay? And I really care. The people that come to me, they move very quickly, all right? They get there, but it doesn't happen the same day. I have 2-week programs, 6-week programs, 8-week programs, 90-day programs, right? But it's designed to move the needle, and for those, I've had people approach me that can't afford me. I'm like, listen, I'm going to take a few minutes out for you. Why don't you go try this X, Y, and Z? Just go do it and get back to me. And I nurture that relationship, right? I nurture it. But the reality is, if they're in financial distress really badly, the last thing they need is to take on another obligation. They really need to get square with themselves, be honest about where they are, and figure out their next income move. And I guess that's going to be my next advice for you for business people. And it's this: before you throw tons of money on an autoresponder, which is an email system, tons of money on a website, tons of money on your branding and your cards and blah, 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 blah. Go get clients first. And you can get them without that. Get them first.
Amen to that.
Test the pricing, get income in your pocket, then go make it happen. Because
I'm already running out of space on my notepad, Carolyn.
Okay, well, that's it. It's really focus on that first. And I'll tell you, I know that because what I'm sharing are things that I could have done differently. I came out of the gate with my big website. All right. And I'm happy I did that. That's fine. And I had the resources to do it. It was okay.
Right.
But I didn't have to do that because it was going to be a while before people even bothered stopping by and reading. It was going to be a while. That time and that money would have been better spent me just going at the market with my message, with my offers, testing and getting clients, getting the income and doing that. And that's what I recommend first. Get visible and get clients. Then think about big growth and a fancy website and all that.
Especially I love that tip. Thank you for that, because especially with all the free things there is at your tips to get clients today, you no longer just have to go door to door to door to get clients, right? Especially with social media and just, all this that we're doing now, all this technology is all available to you. And so now that we've covered people that are just trying to start their business, or maybe they've started their business and they're just having a hard time getting off their foot, I want to talk about other business owners that are actually killing it right now, that I know that could most definitely use, like your courses. I want you to talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to get into women specifically, because you and I were just talking about that, how obviously we can relate to that, but just women in business and women with finance. But first, I want you to talk about your courses, because your courses cover 3 very specific clientele. And so talk about what those courses do for people.
Thank you for asking. That's super sweet of you. And what these courses represent now, is thank you is the evolution of my brand and my business. And this is a word of advice to all the listeners. Don't leave any of your expertise behind. We all pivot, we all grow. You're going to continue growing in your business. Bring everything with you. Don't walk away from any expertise. So the packages I'm going to describe now, they're an evolution of initial ideas, initial small courses that became bigger things, right?
Okay.
So this is the evolution. And where I've landed is I now serve my markets, and you have to figure out who you're going to serve. So my market, C-suite executives, business executives, business executives, entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. That's my wheelhouse, right? So the need that they have, and I always say this too, people struggle with who's my avatar or who's my avatar now. I'm going to tell you something. By and large, okay, for most businesses, the avatar begins with you. You're the avatar. Even if it's a major company that somebody started, Zuckerberg way back when with Facebook, he was the avatar. He felt kind of geeky. He felt left out. He wanted to pick up women. He wanted to connect with women. He was the avatar. And people miss that. 99% of the time, you're the avatar. Just be honest about that. Right? You just are. So right now, here are the 3 programs. One, for busy executives and professionals who they don't want to leave their career. They don't want to start a business, but they want a life redesign with success and happiness in mind. They're out of balance. You and I both know that. It's the long work hours. Work. You've got so much on you. Can you possibly reinvent your life to still have that career success and happiness? The answer is yes. And
it's so easy to do, and sometimes people don't even recognize that's what they're in. They think that they just need a new job, but really they just need to check, like what you're saying,
right?
Bringing happiness into what they do.
Right, exactly, Amy. And what they need to do also is they need to just really stop and figure out who they are now, because it's been a long time since a lot of them have played what they want to play, right? Be at play. What is happiness and joy for them? It's spiritual peace. There's a massive spiritual peace there. A lot of people go into the spiritual void because they're just too busy, and they wake up and all they can do is say, I either have to sleep or I have to work. And following the kids back and forth, it can be getting them to wherever they have to do and looking out for them, looking out for your partner, looking out for your spouse, taking care of the house and the bills and the law. Right.
Well, when you have little kids, you don't sleep anyway. Let me tell you.
Right. Where are you left in that? You're not. And this is a program. It's a conscious program to build those pieces in. Let's figure out, your joy, your happiness, your spiritual fulfillment, things that you can now start balancing out your wheel of life. Buddha had the wheel of life, and it was hijacked by people in the personal development era, like in the late 70s, and it still is. There are different pieces to your life, and you put those in balance. So that's life redesign with success and happiness in mind. And you said, I love what you said about, you don't always have to leave your career. That's what this is about. Sometimes, and I'm going to throw this out there, sometimes you just need a really healthy vacation to get, then you can, and people like you say, they jet careers and they jump jobs, and make a bigger mess when it's like, whoa, hold on, partner. Let somebody pull this snake ball apart from you, right?
Sometimes a vacation is the best thing for you. Although I am not a good... Don't ask me when the last time that I had just like a one-on-one vacation with my husband. Don't even ask.
We're going to work on that. Because guess what? It's possible. It's possible. If you make it a priority, it's possible. Even 2 days where you can just laugh and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm still alive. Just to get away, you can do it. So that's program number 1. And then program number 2 is it's still for executives and for professionals. It's also largely for business owners and entrepreneurs who need to claim their personal power brand. And when businesses are struggling, especially with the next level, a lot of it is the messaging, the image, the power branding, and being able to really convey to people your expertise, what you do, how you do it. So I write power bios for people. You get a media one sheet. I teach in all of my courses an element of professional public speaking, with professional talk creation, because here's what I think. I'm so passionate.
You are a professional speaker as well. I put that on.
Yes, I am. I am. And, 2-decade trial attorney, so I spoke, but I also talked back then and I talk now, right? I'm getting ready to do a TEDx talk, I should say. That's a different thing. TEDx talk in Florida in August. But be that as it may, it's this, that whether it's business or your mission on the planet, right? Something, a cause, maybe it's political reform, maybe it's social reform, whatever it is. we all have a voice and we need to be heard. And it's so sad to see really talented people not wanting to speak up. And that's why I put it in all of my courses, because I want all of my people to get seen and get heard and feel confident about that. So I work with people on the mind piece around it. It's very common not to want to publicly speak, but I get people to do it online as well as offline.
Them through that, right? So it's not.
We actually build it. We do intensive, like 4-hour sessions where we build it, and it's like that. You know, the thing about speaking is 3 out of every 4 people have anxiety around it. And when it rises to the level of a phobia, public speaking or speaking to other people, or basically even speaking your mind in a group, that's called glossophobia. And it's the top phobia and has been ever since phobias have been mentioned, ahead of the fear of dying, spiders, and snakes. So it's not you, and it's also not fatal, and you can conquer it. So, and then my third program is
not fatal. It isn't.
It's not. And you can transcend this. You can be a great speaker. And I don't want to get known though as a public speaking coach. No. I embed it, but that's not, my brand's bigger than that. But I do that work.
Just so much business nowadays revolves around that. But again, it's not just public speaking, it's speaking in meetings too. You know, maybe you're speaking to a small group of people.
Yes, and once you have a power bio, and people, even people you meet, you should always be telling everyone what you do. 60-70% of the people you meet on a weekly basis, they're not your ideal client, but guess what? They know what you do. So now when they hear somebody saying, I really need this, that, and the other, they're your walking billboards. They're your advocates. Right. They're your heroes. Right. So, and that's free publicity for you. And that's, I am always saluting my friends and what they do. And I'm always asking people, what is it you do? Because I'm always on the lookout to help with my network, help them get opportunities, and hook people up with the right people who will treat them well. And I know they're going to be treated fairly, and I know they're going to get a good experience here. It's us looking out for each other, that kind of thing. That's how I look at it. So
Speaking of us looking out for each other, us women need to look out for each other. But real quick, for everybody joining, Carolyn Cole, founder of the Boom Tank, former Fortune 100 and 200 trial attorney. So she's been through a lot. She knows what it's like to work the grind and transition into the world of business. And now she helps business owners all over the country, not just business owners, but C-level executives on coaching and consulting. So moving on to talking about women in finance and women in business.
Okay.
I mean, what do you see when you talk to your clients? And I can talk about what I see as well, but I'm more interested, everybody kind of watching this probably knows more of my view. What is your view on women transitioning into the business world? What do you see is the most common struggle, and how can we help them move past that?
Love this question, Amy. Okay, because it's not just coming into business, it's women in their career. And you and I talked about this. I'm going to let you amplify on this. Women in finances. It is playing small. And it is ancestral DNA, because women were property for so long. Women coming into business is a relatively new phenomena. It just is. I mean, it's less than 100 years old, and people don't even realize in this country, we're not even at the 100-year mark, but we will be in 2019, 2020, with women getting the right to vote. Right. So and we have to be kind to ourselves. However, and we've made great strides in 100 years. It's amazing, but still it's playing small. And Judy Robinette has a great book. She's arguably one of the top power connectors in the world. And her book is How to Be Judy Robinette. And it's How to Be a Power Connector. And she's got a great chapter in there on the difference between men and women. And it's that men get rewarded for achievement. Women get rewarded for helping. Men team. And women seek out friendships, and men join venture. Women just show up with their cape and try to do it all. It's that kind of thing. And we have to realize that's faulty training. It's yesterday's training. It's yesterday's history. It's ancestral DNA. And if we can just stop and break from that and realize we're whole people, being ambitious is not a bad thing, because we've got big hearts, and we're going to bring that big heart to the planet to heal things and help people, right?
A lot of times what I find, don't you find this too, is women don't like confrontation. They're more of pleasers, we're just more in
training.
general, nurturing, I guess would be
training. No, it's training. We are nurturing, okay? Men can be too. We are nurturing, but that's training. That's called doormat training, right? And we are raised with doormat training. And people who trained us, they didn't know that was wrong because that's how they were trained. This goes back thousands of years, thousands. And right now, and think about this. In the Western world, you, me, right now, this is a miracle. It is a miracle from the heavens we are doing this, because there are parts of the world where women, maybe they can't even be seen, let alone heard. Right. Sometimes it's not heard, but can't even be seen. I mean, you just see the eyes with the full burqa. And this is a miracle right now. And in Saudi Arabia, they're driving, but they're jailing women who are asking to be more than just drivers and silent women. And it's, we have this luxury here in this country, and you just have to realize it's training. And you have to also realize you don't know, by having your own show and being out there, what you're going to spark around the world and who you're going to inspire. You don't know that, right? And it's very powerful.
I always say that. I always say, not necessarily when I'm talking to my clients in my meetings, but more to my kids. I always say, you never know any little thing you do, how it's going. You're going to impact people today. Whether you like it or not, you are going to impact somebody today. And it's up to you how you make that impact. It's either a negative impact, a totally subtle impact, or you can make a big impact with how you do things.
I love that.
So my next question is specifically about money. Like when women are around money, maybe this is more of when they're a couple, when there's a man and a woman and they're a couple. And I know a lot of times they come in, and this isn't just, let's say 75 and above. This is not just 75 and above. This is people that aren't even retired yet that come in, and it's mostly not the woman running the finances. Therefore, how can it possibly be that a woman would want to open their own business or, do better in their career? Like there's that disconnect, and they don't speak up in meetings. And so when you are coaching businesses, C-level executives, how do you speak differently? Like, let's pretend you're speaking to C-level executives right now. And how would you speak differently to women versus males?
It's a great question again. My women executives, they've already gotten the message to speak up, right? Exactly. They're looking for work-life balance then. Where I see it the most is the women business owners and entrepreneurs. That's where I see the problem. And they are not the women who are used to being in the top of a corporation and speaking up, and they got there because they did speak up, right? Yeah. So that's, I see what you see. What's interesting though is that we talked about the consumer spending index. You'll explain what that means to the folks, but women drive that. And that women right now in this country now control, for the first time in U.S. history, the majority of wealth in the country. It's a tipping point. It's not by much, but women control wealth. And people say, oh, they inherited. Yes, some did. Some had incredibly, insanely large companies and have made a fortune. Right now on the West Coast, there's a woman there who has a massive angel investment fund for women startups, where one of the requirements is, if you want more funding, your business as a woman currently has to make $250 million, and then but if not, the potential to make it soon. This is the high level of play you don't hear about. And there are these incubator things in New York, and they're in San Francisco. They're on the west, like the Seattle region, where the powerhouses out of Amazon and Google, with their paychecks and their investments and their stock options, are now turning into amazing venture capitalists and angel investors. That is a big boon for changing the dynamics about how women deal with financing. You did not see that. You would not have seen that 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And right now, the stats are that when a woman's startup goes into a predominantly male angel investing room or venture capitalist room, they have such a hard way to go compared to male counterparts. But there are people working behind the scenes to change that now. Some of it was their business wasn't as strong. Some of it was a very alpha environment, and they didn't present alpha even though their idea was alpha, and that was all not received well because they didn't know how to step into that confrontation. Right? You mentioned confrontation. So there are people out there teaching the women how to handle the Shark Tank, right? How to show up, and having women on Shark Tank has been huge. Having guys on Shark Tank, investing in women's startups on TV has been used. The guy support, because there are a lot of men out there really supporting women. We just need to really celebrate them when they do, because it's fantastic. Yeah.
And for those of you joining, Carolyn Cole, founder of boomtank.com. We're just talking about a whole bunch of things right now. Actually, we've already kind of talked about her in business and what she does for business owners, and talking about her several courses. So if you haven't seen those, go check it out at boomtank.com. But now we're also talking about women in business and women in finance. And another question that I have, Carolyn, is for you personally, because I know how it was for me. I'm going to be a little vulnerable right now, but I know I went from a bank career, like salary plus commission, plus you had clients walking in the door, to completely independent, 100%, you're in charge of your own income. And I know that is super scary for people. So I'm just curious for you, because you being a trial attorney, that's a huge difference from what you're doing now. So not only what do I want to know, what made you go into that switch so drastic from being a successful trial attorney to then owning your own business and being podcast host? I mean, what made you make that transition? And then financially, personally, I mean, what did you go through in that transition?
Brilliant. The thing that made me want to leave my job is I finally said, this is it. I truly want to live before I die. Right?
Oh, yeah.
The year that I left, it was going on over 3 years ago now. When I left, it was, I actually received a national recognition award from my Fortune company. And there were 100 employees honored each year. I was one of the 100 to be honored. And I left a few months after that. I'd planned it. It wasn't like I got an award and I left. I planned it. But the thing is that I loved my employers by and large. I mean, they would just treated me great. So none of those issues applied. And I was always given a lot of free reign and celebrated and rewarded. And so no complaints about that. I mean, lots of hard work. I didn't like that. I didn't like working my life away, right? That led me to the full thinking of, it's now. I want to live before I die. I know I've got so many other things I want to do on the planet, because I'm very spiritual too. And there's a lot of things I want to do to help. And if I'm constantly going like this, I didn't buy the insanity for me. For other people, I understand if they want to keep their careers. I get it. And there's a way to be happy with the madness out there. Just nobody's teaching it, right? But for me, it was crazy to say at my retirement age, wow, now in my late 60s, my early 70s, now I get to go live my life. Right. What kind of insanity? To me, it was crazy. Other people are like, you know what? I like it this way. Or I don't like it this way, but I don't want a business. I get it. And there's all these different ways now to be happy. And as we get more creative, we can find more ways. You don't have to step out and leave your career and get a job. There are other ways to do it. But for me, because my dreams were so big and there was so much I wanted to do, I couldn't do both. There was no way I could stay and do, because years ago I tried. I had an organization development consultancy at the same time that I had a full-time trial career. So on the weekends, I would fly out and do this passion job and fly to these organizations and help them with their organization development. And then my health broke, and that was in my late 30s. And I realized, whoa, there's a limit. And so I knew, and I have a good friend, Paul Cousineau. He's a really cool guy. He left a top accounting job. He was a top accountant out of Canada, brilliant guy. And they said, why don't you just stay here until you figure out this whole entrepreneurial thing? He said this, and I love it. I heard it from him years ago. He said, if I stay here, I'll never figure it out. And that's kind of where I was. If I'd stayed, I couldn't have figured it out. So leaving, and you can talk about this, your journey as well. It was at first, it was wonderful and magical. And now looking back, I can see what a difficult time I had making those shifts and changes, even though it didn't feel like it, but it was a massive change. I just was oblivious to it because I said, no matter what, I'm going to stick in and do it. Okay. Even through the
over time though, or was it just like one day, man, I'm done? Like you said, you kind of planned it a little bit, but was it 2 months, 3 months? Was it 2 years? Like, for me, it was like a 3-year thing. Like, okay, I want to do this. I know I want to do this, but I just don't know if I can. Like, I want to do this. I want to do this, but I'm not there yet. Like, I had to get comfortable. It was like over years.
Yep, mine was a couple of years too. I'm right there with you, because you want to be prudent. You don't want to be crazy, right? And what it did is, at first when I was thinking of leaving, real estate was hot. right? And I went to different real estate meetings because the online business space hadn't really happened yet. It really hadn't happened. And I'll tell you, this is kind of an interesting backstory. I went to all the real estate investment, how you revamp a house and you flip it and do all of those things, right? And and I could have balanced that when I was doing that if I was going to do law, right? I figured that would be a pretty good thing to do. Then the bottom fell out of the real estate market, and it was so cool because I waited, and it was tied.
So cool.
Well, it was what was tied into all of these people that I knew and that I met all over the country who did this. They were tied into that big first home buyer program that the government didn't renew. And it was set to renew in like 6 months. And I studied this stuff for a year, just in my spare time, nothing crazy. And everybody said, buy now, buy now. It's so good. The prices are good. I said, no, I'm going to wait for, see what the federal government does. They said, oh, they're going to renew it. They're going to renew it. And I said, let me just wait. And I'll tell you what, I waited and they didn't. And the bottom fell out. All these people who had made a fortune, they were stuck with all these houses, and they had nowhere to market them because the established buyers didn't want that starter home, and the starter home people couldn't afford it. All of those people that were big names in that, I saw them then over the next year or two go into the online business space. And I said,
wow.
So I watched them make these transitions. And at the same time, this guy named Pat Flynn was starting Smart Passive Income. It's like, who's that? And what's he doing? And before live streaming and all of this, because it was all blogs, it was all email. So I watched all of this very carefully. So that's a short answer to your question. It took a few years until I figured out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it.
Two things you said, though, and I actually wrote it down. You said, if I stay here, I'll never get out. It's interesting because some people, even if they stay there, this is what I tell to some people kind of transitioning if they think they want to sell their business or they want to go into business rather. And some people stay and then still can't retire. You know, you're spinning your wheels, you stay and you stay and you stay, and then you still can't retire, you know? So if you never, like you said, like you'll never figure it out if you don't take that leap of faith. So it's just crazy, but it's all around finances. A lot of it, like I know for me, obviously part of it was just like, oh, I'll be out on my own, you know, what if, but I had the confidence that I give the right advice. So that wasn't what it was. A lot of it was money. A lot of it is money. You know, you go from being a trial attorney, you're making good money. You go out on your business, and to be a business owner, how do you know what your income is going to be? It's the unknown that makes people very scared. You know, don't you think?
Yeah, and it's also corporate training. And the whole thing is what makes you an entrepreneurship in business will kill you in corporate. And what makes you in corporate, what absolutely makes you a star in corporate will kill you in entrepreneurship and business. Corporate is tied into tasks, milestones. You know, if you just work, you're rewarded, right? You try to do that in business, you'll get slaughtered because business is 80% marketing and selling. When I say selling, I'm not talking about sleazy. I'm talking about showing up and saying, hey, what's your problem? B, this is what I offer. Does that interest you? And that's it. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking. That's how simple my sales process is. It's like, I hear you. Does this interest you? That's it. I don't push. But it's that dichotomy, and you can bring some pieces in, right? But truly, if you take a true entrepreneur and put them in corporate, it's like you gave them no water and no sunshine and put them in a freezer. They will wither within 24 hours, 48 hours and be out of there because they can't take it. And you take a highly corporate person and you try to put them into the whitewater, constant whitewater of entrepreneurship, entrepreneur roller coaster that Darren Hardy of Success Magazine talks about, the uncertainty, the risk, watching the money go out with the full faith that's all you have that will come back in because you have to invest in your business to grow your business. You can do it, but it is a major transition. And you and I are kind of blessed in this regard because we've got the corporate sensibilities. Now we've got the entrepreneurial and business sensibilities. We're kind of this wonderful hybrid that's full of compassion for people on both sides of the fence. And that puts us in a very good place, but it's hard earned. I mean, it wasn't, it's not for the faint of heart.
Oh my gosh. And I just had a meeting the other day with, let's talk about government employees. They fall like right in the middle, right? So you have the C-level executives, you have people that work for corporations, and you have business owners, but you have government employees that are too right in the middle that have dreams and wants, but they get worked to death. Oh, but you have a pension. Oh, you have a pension. Oh, you have benefits, you have healthcare, but they are working so hard and a lot of times putting their life on the line. So
don't miss your life.
That's right there.
Don't miss your life. Don't miss it. And, it's training, it's expectations. There's so much training that goes into hold a 9 to 5. And there are no 9 to 5 jobs anymore. You and I know that. That is a complete myth. There is no 9 to 5. So hold your 9 to whatever hour you work. It's going to be beyond 5. And that's the best life is going to give you until you retire. At now, I think the retirement age for our young people coming up, it's in the 70s. How insane is that? That at age 70 something, if you make it in these killer jobs, now you get to live. Woohoo! You're going to look so strange out there trying to catch up with your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80, thing. What?
If you're in Florida, we live longer down here, though.
And you're active, and that's excellent. I mean, that's the key, being active and making time for fun and for play.
Yeah.
Even only an hour or 2 a week, because really when you're working, it's like, I have a personal thing. When I see people who are online or even offline, they're like, look at me, life is so great every day. And I don't even know if it's their house that they're really shooting this in. I don't know if it's their car they're actually driving, whatever. I'm like, stop it. Instead of showing that, tell us how to do that right? So that's where I used to be. And that's one thing I've committed to going forward is whatever I show, like I'm getting ready to talk about something nice that's happened to me, but I'm going to be sharing the lesson about how they can do that too. Right. So really important to model the behavior, be totally transparent and beautiful like you've done here, and saying that, hey, it was a struggle. Yeah. But you know what? It's the kind of thing that if you stay in a job you can't handle, you hate, right? You're great at it, but you hate. I didn't necessarily hate everything, but I just knew I was missing my life. If you feel you're missing your life, you're missing your family, you're missing your children, you're missing joy, happiness, whatever it is that you're missing, that is so much harder every day than making a change. And it could be.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
It could be saying, I'm going to take a vacation and make sure I'm right? Take a big vacation of my dreams, not anybody, my dreams. Or maybe it is leaving and starting a business. Maybe it is switching to a lesser job so you can have more time for other things. Whatever it is, you can figure it out, but be honest with yourself that the way you're living is very hard, right? The way I lived in my past career, it was very hard. And my great coworkers and my great bosses, they're living very hard lives. And I had a coworker of mine who stood in the doorway. This is probably about a year before I left, and I knew I was leaving. I didn't announce it. And he looked at me and he said, and he had tears in his eyes because he had a lot of sons, right? He had a big family. And he was the worker. And he said, he said, here's to you and me being cogs in the wheel forever. And I said, no. And he had tears in his eyes. I said, no, it's not going to be that way. He said, there's nothing else we can do. Of course, I do all these other things. So I knew I would be. And I ended up getting up out of my chair, going into his office, basically giving him a pep talk, because I'm like, do you understand that this can change? And it can. It can.
Uh-oh, did I lose you, Carolyn?
No, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
What happened here?
Did you mute yourself?
I lost her, guys.
Did you mute yourself? Oh, you know what? I bet you Facebook timed out. Hang in there, gang. I don't know if you can see me and not hear her. I'm not sure what's going on. So hang on. We'll get this finished. I
have no idea what happened there.
There you are. So I kept them entertained. I sang a few songs and we got to know each other. It's good.
Good. Okay. And it says we're still streaming live on Facebook.
Great. Okay. Well, yeah. I didn't do anything.
If you're just joining us after our technical difficulty, Carolyn Cole, founder of the boomtank.com. We are covering a lot of ground today, but what we were just going back to was talking about your transition, my transition, how you think of it when you're working in a career and you're working, and you're getting overworked. And you said, if I stay here, I'll never figure it out. I mean, that right there is powerful. So we were kind of going into different stories. You were telling the story about your coworker that had just said, here's to being cogs forever. And I think the thing froze up literally when I go,
it's sad. I mean, my heart just sank and I'm like, no. And he had tears in his eyes. This is a really cute, lovable, strong guy or whatnot. And what it was is he was stuck in, trial or doing his thing and he couldn't make it yet to another game. right? He was going to miss it again. And this was a big one. This was like a big event or something. And he was going to be tied up with this thing. And he was just like, I can't get to it. And he also commuted a crazy, like an hour and a half one way each day.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's all upside down. He's still there. He's a great employee, a great worker. But you know what, folks, if you're in that kind of situation, talk to Amy about building your assets, getting your financial picture in order. So
Being a financial plan, we can plan it out.
Yeah, because let's say you need to stay in the career. Let's say you're one of those, right? Go to your finances, grow it so you can build your escape hatch and go carve out things, even if it's saving, pulling out part of that wealth each year for a great trip. So at least that effort is rewarded in a way that is rewarding to you.
Man, amen to that. I'm helping a couple people do that right now. But I mean, and I know you did this too, and I did it too. You kept getting drugged back into law, right? Like you mentioned, you were doing this stuff on the side, and me too. So I would try to kind of remove myself, and then I would find myself getting sucked back in. Yeah. I mean, it is so difficult because you keep coming back to it because you're good at what you do.
Well, and it's just the kind of thing even now today, if I wanted to go back and get a law job in time, maybe 30 days, it might take a while depending on availability, but I could do it and I could step back in and just do it. And law wasn't the issue. Law is not the problem. The larger, and I still wouldn't mind if somebody called and said, hey, do you want to come work for a few weeks just to go play back in it? But that's not realistic. And that's not, I've got my business to run now. It's really that quest when you really pull back on it. On everything, what you do for a living, what I do for a living, what the people watching are doing for a living, you just pull back and say, is this the life I want? Okay. Yeah. And then the next question you ask is, when will you? Whatever that is, fill in the blank. When will you take that cooking class? When will you lose that weight? When will you gain that weight? When will you take that trip? When will you finally make time? When will you? And commit to it, because we're so busy and so numb and so tired running that we don't realize we need to do this, because you do not want regrets on that back nine. Do not have regrets on the back nine. I say living without regrets is not only a powerful decision, it is a lifestyle. Adopt the lifestyle of living with no regrets. And you can take whatever situation you're in, a busy business like you and me, right? Business people, and I love entrepreneurship and business, right? I love it. Where we are, or where the other career people are, or the government job people, wherever people are, you can adopt this. You can say, my policy is living with no regrets, and find a way to make that work in your life. And it's going to mean letting go of the craziness and peeling it away piece by piece. You're still going to get your raises. You're still going to be successful. You're still going to get your clients. You're still going to fill your workshops. It's still going to happen.
You know what's crazy? What I hear right now, I just thought of this actually. I hear right now a lot of people stay at their current job. Do you know why? Health insurance.
Yes.
Health insurance. Health benefits. I mean,
it was a factor for me. It was a factor for me.
Yeah, for me too. No, I know. And then now since I've left the bank, I've had 2 kids. So, I mean, when you add children on, it becomes a little more expensive. Right. And so things change. So, I mean, it is insane how everybody is making their decisions, not on what you just said. You just hit, when you said, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? You just hit every single person that listens to this when you ask those questions. Every single person could have answered those questions. And instead of doing that, they're focusing on a financial piece, which I can help them with. And then the other piece, the life piece, you can help them with. I mean, I feel like there are so many people out there that can be helpful. And now with the ability of social media, they can actually find the people that they connect with best. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy. Like, there's no excuse anymore. Like before, it could be like, oh, I just can't find that person. I just can't find that person. But now there's no excuse. Like everything you just said, you just have to ask yourself the question, when? What do I want and when?
I'm waiting for the next change, because I read that Amazon was looking into this, and you've got different people like Warren Buffett looking into it. Like, how can we create another health exchange? Because there is a health exchange now, right? And that's fascinating to me, because there's no one who's saying, let's just take realtors. Let's just take hairstylists, okay, professional.
Right.
What if one organization banded all of those independent professionals together and got health insurance under that umbrella? How would that revolutionize things, right? All of the, like, all business owners and entrepreneurs.
Somebody out there start that.
But it hasn't happened, right? And why hasn't it? And it's because people are asleep. They're like, this is how it is. They just accept the status quo. So for you hotshots out there wanting to create $1 billion, multi-billion.
There's your idea. There's your business.
Idea. Go band these people together, these professional independent contractors, get them health insurance, baby, and you're in the news.
Yeah. Carolyn and I will be your first clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Carolyn, I mean, this has been, I can't even believe it's been 45 minutes that we've been sitting here talking. I just happened to look at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, 45 minutes. This is insane.
I got to give you credit. Now, let me give you credit. Audience, I want you to give her lots of hearts and likes for this, because this is a Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this professional here, okay, your finance and wealth expert, Amy, takes time to bring you this incredible show on a Friday. When, like you said, most people are like, they're out of it. You're just ramping up. I'm impressed. I was like, Friday at 4? Okay.
I have to wait until the market closes, and the market closes at 4, and I have to do it on a Friday because that's the best day.
Crazy great. Yeah, that's
so much. I mean, is there anything else that you want to leave people with? Because I can tell you are just on a different level. Like, just the way you talk about people, it's not just and I read some of your reviews on your website. I encourage you to read some of the testimonials on her website, because you get very specific in business coaching, very specific, and you offer very specific value to those businesses' situations. But it's not just about that. It's about the life aspect of it. As you said, you say it perfectly, bringing business and happiness together. And I think once you've got that, then you can tackle the finance piece. I really feel like it all goes together. So what do you want to leave people with today? Because we probably should wrap it up. Although I feel like we could keep going for a while through the weekend.
It's what I want you to do is be really sensible about your life, right? Realize you're capable of doing so much more. Get your wealth piece right. Don't put that off. And that's where Amy comes in. It's fantastic. Yes, success meets happiness, and part of success is wealth. And for you women out there, wealth is not a pejorative term, okay? You need to learn to embrace it and accept it and celebrate it, because when you pour from a full cup versus an empty one, now you can impact the world. Now you can change things for the better. Now you have a voice, and now you can make a difference.
Man.
No regrets.
Awesome. See, this is why you do this on a Friday, because we just left all these people with that note right there going into the weekend. This is amazing. Thank you so much for being here. If I don't talk to you, have an awesome 4th of July holiday. And thanks again for everything that you've left our viewers with.
Thank you. Complete honor. Can't thank you enough for being here. You're terrific. And thank you for watching.
Yes. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.